Archaeologists have found a lot of old artifacts on the Gildan Peninsula on the coast of Siberia, but this is the first time that artifacts from the far north have been found there. Strong, cold winds hit the icy ground all the time, making the cherry trees some of the most dangerous in the world. Hey everyone, we will talk about the amazing find that scientists made in Siberia in this film. But before we start, make sure you subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get updates every week. Now let's begin. Scientists from the area went to check out how much permafrost was melting and found a lot more than they thought they would. The area that faces the Kara Sea is 601,776 square miles in size. The peninsula is always frozen, and Rory is over -3 degrees Celsius, but no one lives there. The head of the archaeology department at the Center for Arctic Studies said that digging around Lake Parasim II and the Yerba River, which is outside the Arctic Circle, has turned up some surprising things, like a bronze Iranian Cup from the Middle Ages, which dates back to 5 to 1500 years. 8 things were found by archaeologists. These included more bronze, pottery, and iron items. Gusov told the Siberian Times that the find was an odd one. There was clearly a camp here, and people stayed for a while and then left. The culture layer was worn away by the wind, and that's how we found the piece of cap with a ceramic vessel and bronze knife handle. After more than 200 years, experts think the cap was left there. They think this happened around the year 1000 or 1110 AD. Arkady Palo and someone from the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnology in Novosibirsk are scientists. Risks thinks that Central Asian traders brought these kinds of things to the area in the 6th and 7th centuries AD, where they quickly became a part of local ceremonies. The bodies of 9 children were found by archaeologists in September 2017. All of them were buried with elaborate outfits and decorations. All of the surprising finds were buried on their own and spread out along the banks of the Tears of Skippen Insula. Many people think that the child who was just found was very important and might even have the title of prince because of how fancy they were dressed and decorated. It was thought that he was between 3 and 7 years old when he died. An Arctic boy, about 14 years old, was found in the same area and other places along the rivers the year before. His funeral dress had white metal crosses and other decorations sewn into it, which supports the idea that the children were very important. The idea comes from the fact that they were all too young to be fully introduced into their societies, which is why they lived in such faraway places. Scientists aren't sure about this theory, but there is evidence to back it. For example, the name the locals gave the place, the local minutes, or the road of those who went to heaven. Near the graves, scientists also found fires that had kept their ash and coals. People think it was a ritual way to end cooking meat on the bone to open the gates to the afterlife. Also, the headdresses were made with berries that were glued to big pieces of birch bark that were tied together. The outside was made of fur, and the inside was made of wool cloth. There was even more proof that the graves were done with care and ceremony. Each grave was given a protective mode. In September, scientists found the bones of 1,300 mammals from 13 different species, all in one place on the Gildan Peninsula. This led to a lot of talk about how these animals might have behaved in specific ways. The bones were found between 10,000 and 50,000 years ago and show that the 2 animals were mostly adults, though some were babies. This suggests that the animals would have come to this understanding both when they were giving birth and when they were dying. Scientists now have a new way to look at this monster that has disappeared after learning that many of these animals moved farther north than they thought before. Pavelka System, a movie expert, said that the cave lion and brown bear lived in the north of western Siberia between 10,000 and 50,000 years ago. Their range covered an unknown 71 degrees of northern latitude. Even more exciting was the fact that bones from an unknown species had been found before this study. The southern beach of Bolshoi Leonov's Keat Island has the biggest collection of mammoth bones in the Russian Arctic. Scientists are still trying to figure out a lot of new things, like these animals. Scientists found an Old World lord in the arms accretion of western Siberia in 2014. It was found on the right bank of the Tara River. According to the Moscow Times, the other side had been dug up for a few years before the body was found. I think the mummy is from the 1100s because of the way he looks and acts, which makes him special for his time. The armor and bronze mirror that were found with his body also show that he was a fierce fighter. His injuries: he was found with his right arm cut off and his shoulder crushed, add to this idea. Most likely, this Armand was a very important soldier. Scientists can better understand the political and social norms of his time with these results, which support the idea that they were separate and self-determined. It was found that 34 people had died. There were even dead bodies found in small holes 34 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. 5 of the 11 mummies were fully covered in copper plating and fur, ranging from bear to reindeer. No one knows what the ornament means, but its complicated coating makes me think it had some kind of political or social meaning in old communities. Experts who saw similar things in Bulgaria say that Mavi's 11 mummies were made up of 7 adults, 4 children, and 1 female. This is because snakes were driving through the heart of the disease to keep people from turning into vampires. Copper was put on all of the kids and copper hoops were used to tie them up. Scientists aren't sure why most of the police officers were men, but they do know that the copper was protecting them, which is what caused them to mummify by accident. Other old things, like an iron knife, silver medallions, a copper bird figurine, and a Persian ball from the 10th century, were found with the bodies. The mummies' genes are being tested by Alexandra Pilipenko from the Institute of Psychology and Genetics to find out more about where they came from and what kind of life they may have had. Scientists found another mummy a few years later. This time, it was a woman. She was found at a children's hospital with a guy next to her. Her hair and eyelashes were almost fully stretched out. With a copper face mask on at age 35, her face was completely unharmed, but her body wasn't wrapped in birch very well. That's all for today. What do you believe about this amazing find? Please tell us in the comments. Kindly share and like our movies. Always remember to subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get new videos every day.